I've tried to do this intro like 6 times, so I'm gonna go with whatever I say this time. Alright, so today I am going to tell the much highly anticipated by my random friends story of the time that a short story that I wrote in 3rd grade got adapted into a skit, and I'm pausing a lot. I threw up like 2 hours after. Since I hate having silence behind me in the background, you may be able to hear, but probably won't. I'm watching Gentlemen Broncos, sort of, but not really, which has a scene that very closely mirrors that sort of event of watching a terrible adaptation of your story and then barfing out in horror. Yeah. So, this is my attire. I'm wearing a sick DBZ shirt that was actually for children, because I probably, as a child, would have wished that I owned this shirt, because all the DBZ merch in late 90s, early 2000s was horrifying, especially for a girl. Like, it wasn't like Sailor Moon and Pokemon. There was nothing cool. It was all awful. It was all ugly dude stuff. I'm trying to hold this, and it's very terrible. My arm does not have the power to do such things. It wasn't made for this. It wasn't made for this. Oh, and the hat is because I was very, 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 very obsessed with aliens when I was a kid. Like, a lot. Very unironically. I loved Mars Attacks. I actually have, like, Mars Attacks, like, action figure things from when I was a kid, and I would carry them around everywhere with me. I still have them. They're in my closet somewhere. Yeah, my arm hurts. Is that better? No, it's not. Okay. Ugh, I'm sitting on a pile of pillows, because I want a background, but I don't have a chair that would make this background look good and still have the awesome window light. So yes, I'm wearing sparkly Star Wars lipstick because I imagine I would have really enjoyed it if sparkly Star Wars lipstick existed, but Star Wars wasn't for girls, it was for boys. Yeah, this all kind of comes down to the fact that my parents were super chill about not... I don't know, I could get whatever I wanted. I had boy Pokemon shoes. But that's not the point. I'm getting sidetracked as per usual because I am not good at telling stories. I'm terrible at it. I am good, however, at ranting about randomness that you will not understand and filming myself in somewhat unflattering angles. I guess I have to use this arm even though it hurts too. Ugh. Okay. So, to start this story, I must begin with a thing you may remember from elementary school, where we'd have these things called centers, and each center you would do something, like you'd have some kind of task that you had to do. Usually random tasks. I think my dad's home. I might have to pause this and continue it later. Not thrilled. Anyways, so we'd have centers, and like we'd have to do different activities, and we were learning about like outer space, I think. So one of the centers, what we had to do was write a story. And I was really excited because I liked aliens and I'd always write really weird stories. I had a thing for aliens and big cats, so I'd write about either of those things anytime we had any sort of opportunity to write about crap. Yeah. Anyways, so I wrote a story that I will read very soon. And I didn't find out until my parents went to open house at my school, and then my 3rd grade teacher, who was a delightful human being, very delightful. I assume she is still delightful. I don't know why she wouldn't not be delightful anymore. I paused too long. Anyways, she was delightful, and out of all the stories in the school, like, mine was one of the ones that was submitted to get made into, like, this skit thing, where they'd act out your story, and I didn't really know what skits were, but it sounded kind of cool. I had no, like, reason to be alarmed about the fact that my story was being adapted. I was like, oh, that'll be cool. I just imagined that it would look exactly like I thought it would in my head. It didn't. Anyways, so they told my parents while I was there, and I was like, oh. And the thing was called Imagination Machine, which should in itself have been a red flag, because, yeah, Imagination Machine just sounds super horrible and cheesy. I mean, I liked what they were trying to do, but, yeah. So, I had this thing where, until I took a college class, like, last year for English, this is so off track, but I took a college class for English that was all based around, like, sci-fi novels, and I never actually realized that I liked sci-fi, that almost everything I like is sci-fi. Like, everything, even DBZ, Aliens, Star Wars, Sailor Moon, all of these things, all sci-fi. Never thought about it, never occurred to me. So, this story that I wrote was very sci-fi. I imagined like this dense fucking sci-fi landscape. I cursed, I didn't mean to. I'm trying not to do it. I wanted this to be a delightful story for children, but I should probably remember that I used to curse in 3rd grade. So, I don't know why I'm pretending that I don't curse. I'm sorry. I should be real with you. Anyways, so I imagined a very dense, like, sci-fi landscape, like those, like, Dune type things. I don't mean, like, actual dunes, I mean, like, Dune, the sci-fi movie, because everything was gray. I think everything in Dune is, like, yellow. But I used to watch Sci-Fi Network all the time. I was a very weird kid. I liked X-Files. I don't even remember X-Files, but I used to watch X-Files. I've always been obsessed with aliens. I used to collect little plastic alien figurines. I have other alien stuff, just tons and tons of alien stuff. And the alien I was writing in this was based on a specific alien figure thing that I had. That's what I was describing in it. Yeah. Where am I going with this? I don't remember. Yeah, so I was very into sci-fi. I was a weird kid. I would talk to adults and stuff. I'd watch whatever I wanted. Even when it wasn't very child-friendly, still watched it. A lot of sci-fi. Didn't realize I liked sci-fi because I'm an idiot. And yeah, so, to finally get on with this story, almost 8 minutes in, I'm so sorry to all of you. Here is my story, and I'm going to, as best as I can, dramatically read it while holding my arm up, which is kind of getting painful. Hold on, maybe I'll switch arms. No, I won't. Oh no, I blocked the lens. Okay, this is a better angle for my arm. Okay. I am an alien named Ayla. I have traveled from Neptune to find another planet for my kind to live on. I'm traveling with everyone from my planet in search of a new home. We know it will be soon when Neptune will crash into Pluto. Now we will have to find a new planet. We are drifting in space with everything we could ever need on a rocket. Soon we hit a planet. It looked like our old one, except there was almost no poisonous gases. Ah, I dropped my paper. Plants on the planet produce a small amount of poisonous gases, which is good for us aliens. There was water with gas we could drink. I thought it tasted terrible. We saw new creatures on the planet. They actually looked exactly like me. Pretty emerald green eyes, pale blue skin, teardrop-shaped heads and eyes. I don't know why they would know what they were. And three fingers with big round fingertips. They could do what I could do too, change into whatever they wanted, control wind, water, and electricity, change size, telekinesis, read mind, accurate grammar there, and turn invisible. The first thing they said was, "We come in peace." They helped build a town to live in. We named the planet Storm because, like Neptune, it also has a mysterious storm on it. Now we still don't know what happened to Neptune, but we lived happily ever after. Yeah, so this story is it's okay. It's pretty cringy. My grammar is a little bit better than I remembered it being then. That's not saying much. But everybody thinks their grammar's terrible when they're young. I'm trying to hold this with my other hand and it's not helping. So, yeah, that was my story. And it's okay. It suffers from the thing that most of my stories still suffer from, which is that I start really grand and really ambitious. Like I have this amazing long tale I'm gonna tell. And then I run out of time, or I don't know what I'm doing with it, and then I forget and I don't do it. Kind of like this video is turning out. Where I have an idea, it doesn't really come together all the way, but it's kind of amusing, I guess. So yeah, my story got picked to be adapted into a play, and I was very excited. So, I get to school on the day that the assembly is. Oh, yeah, by the way, all of these stories would be acted out in front of everyone. My story is untitled. I did not title it. It wasn't meant to be like a story that I was writing for like some grand thing. It was just like, oh, we're doing a center. I have to write a story. Oh, cool, it's about aliens. I like aliens. I'm gonna write this one about aliens. Yeah. I think we probably had to put facts in it. That's probably why I was saying all that stuff about Neptune. Yeah. I also liked Neptune a lot. And I knew the thing about it crashing into Pluto one day. Back when Pluto was a planet also. Oh, Pluto, we miss you. We wish you were still a planet, but you're not anymore. You've been downgraded, like us all. Anyway, so I get to school. I still remember what I was wearing. I was wearing this outfit that I like to wear a lot. It was like purple shorts, and I had this top that was like white with like lime green and purple flowers. It was almost paisley, but it wasn't paisley. I probably have a picture of myself wearing it somewhere. I think it was from Target. I'm not entirely sure. I just got blinded by a car backing out of a driveway because the sun reflected off the light. That's probably what. If I squinted, that's why. That's what happened. It's happened to me. My arm's starting to hurt. Oh yeah, my knee. My knee's helpful. Okay, I can do this. I can do this! Anyways, so, get to school. Go about my day normally. We have centers and stuff. Again, I probably wrote another mediocre story. And, we had snack time. And for some reason, I just, like, wasn't hungry at all, even sort of, not even a little. Not hungry. So I didn't eat snack. And I had let my friends eat my hot Cheez-Its. That's another story. They all liked hot Cheez-Its. I liked hot Cheez-Its. They were really good. Do they even still sell those? I hope they do. They were delicious. I don't know if I like them anymore, but I liked them then. And I'd give my friends hot Cheez-Its, and I'd eat hot Cheez-Its, and everybody loved hot Cheez-Its together! Because snack time was the best! But I didn't have snack, because I wasn't hungry at all. So, we go to the assembly, and we sit on the floor in this, like, it was called the multi-purpose room, because you could also, like, eat lunch in there, because they had those, like, you know those things on the wall where, like, they, like, come down to be benches and, like, tables, but then they, like, go back up flat? I don't know. Maybe only my middle school and elementary school had it, but we had it. It was kind of cool, and it was like the newest room in the school, and like they had like a stage, so it was really cool because they got to like have assemblies in there, and it wasn't outside because outside was miserable and hot half the time. Because, you know, if you don't know me and you're for some reason watching this video because you stumbled upon it, I live in Southern California. It gets hot. Okay. Anyway. So, they go through all these, like, skits, and these are, like, grown adults, like, acting these children's stories out that they adapted into skits, and they're not great, but I just assumed that it was because the stories weren't interesting and I didn't like them. So, they get to my story, and I still to this day don't know how they got from my story to what was acted out in front of me. So, they put on these, like, googly, like, antenna things that were glittery, and they have these, like, tinsel wigs, and these, like, I think they put on, like, those glasses that, like, make your eyes look like alien eyes, and immediately they started talking in, like, crazy voices, like this, or something. It was super cheesy, and, like, my story was very serious, because I was a serious third grader writing a seemingly dense sci-fi novel, even though I didn't have the writing capabilities to do that. And, they say they read the name of the story, which never had a name, and I was very horrified that they then gave it a name. They said, our next story is something like this. It's called My Alien Family by Megan Lee. So, two things about that. Was not titled. There was no alien family, so I was horrified that it was called My Alien Family, because I didn't title it that. It had no title. It should have had a different title if they were going to title it. And also, my name is Megan Lee. And as a child, I would cringe anytime someone said Megan Lee. I was that kind of kid. Like, I was silly and fun, but I didn't like being pandered to. I was weird. It's like I went through my pretentious hipster phase of like, no, everything's serious, and I want everything to be serious, and no, I can't with this silliness when I was a kid, instead of like in my mid-20s. You know, like everyone else goes through it in their mid-20s. I went through it in like 3rd grade, and I was like, no, I will not stand for this silliness. So, what follows in this horrible outfits, I think they were also wearing striped shirts, and I'm pretty sure had overalls on, like those paintery kind, which was even worse. And like, when I thought of skits and people acting it out, I like, for some reason imagined they'd make what was in my head real, like exactly the way I imagined it, which sounded really cool. But obviously, when you're writing a dense sci-fi story, that's never gonna happen. I didn't understand that at all, even slightly. So, what follows is they acted out this story in which an alien brother and sister are going on a, like, Goldilocks type hunt for a new planet. And I'm pretty sure there were some very, like, dumb, terrible jokes. Nothing about it is serious. It lost all of its sci-fi elements. It just was like this weird, silly, I don't know. Like, when you try to watch Disney shows now, I don't even know how to explain how bad it was. Like, I'm at a loss for words still to this day about how bad it was, because they just, like, were so silly. And my story had, as you could hear from the way I was reading it, and it was written exactly like that. I did no editing. No part of it's different from what is written on that paper. And there's nothing about it that's silly at all. Like, you couldn't even pretend that it's silly, because it's not silly. It's a serious story written by a child, but they turned it into a silly story written by a child that was acted out in front of everyone. And so I had that. There wasn't a name for it back then, but it was severe secondhand embarrassment for the people acting it out, and it was like painful and cringy. And at the same time, I was also embarrassed because then every single person in the school thought that that's the story that I wrote, when it isn't the story that I wrote. And the thought of anyone even picturing me writing it for a second, like, I don't think anybody would have ever thought that I wrote it in the first place, because that wasn't who I was. Like, I was one of the smart kids. Like embarrassingly so. I was a dork. I had the glasses. I should have mentioned that. I wore glasses. Yeah, glasses. I was in GATE, and like, yeah, you know, I liked math. I was gonna be a scientist when I grew up. I was not pop punk. Not even a little. I didn't even like Blink-182 because I thought All the Small Things was bullying boy bands. Because I didn't really understand parodies. I thought that they were making fun of people, which isn't nice. I just got sidetracked, didn't I? So yeah, they acted out that terrible story, which follows the same plot structure, except it was all silly, and they were, like, brother and sister when there wasn't another character. It was just, like, the one person that was the leader. Also, apparently I was very, very forward thinking in that I made the alien leader, and she's a lady. That wasn't a thing. I'm such a feminist. Anyways, so I was gonna say something else, but I don't remember what right now. I was getting at something. I had a point to this. I don't know. I just remember they acted the whole thing out. It was very terrible. I had painful secondhand embarrassment and firsthand embarrassment. Where was I going with this? I don't know. They weren't a family, though. They were just aliens on a planet, living in peace. Oh, I remember. Much like the terrible adaptation of The Last Airbender, where they didn't say Aang, they say Ong. They didn't say Ayla, they said Allah. And that also made me cringe. I totally forgot about that. And they also gave the brother a name. And I don't remember what the name was. I probably am subconsciously blocking it out because it was terrible. Their outfits kind of reminded me of Oompa Loompas, but they had tinsel hair and stuff. I just remember the tinsel hair made me so embarrassed. Anyways, so they acted that out in front of everyone. I was severely disappointed and very embarrassed. And yeah, so then I think they acted out a few more. I just kind of sat there, disillusioned with life and the creative process, and we all walked back to class in our lines. And I was really hungry, and I thought it was because I skipped snap time, but we were then going to lunch immediately after. The thing bled into lunch, which was pretty cool. So I didn't have to go to an assembly and then try to learn things after being horrified by what happened. Which I feel so bad for my teacher. She didn't know that I was horrified by it. I didn't let anyone know. I think I just said that my story wasn't like that. And yeah, she had no idea. I just didn't tell her. So I was excited that she did it, and it was very nice of her, even though it turned out like a disaster. So we all went in our lines, went to lunch, and I was really hungry. Actually, okay, I was nauseous, but I thought I was hungry. Because I get nauseous when I'm hungry. And it should be noted, I get nauseous fairly often because, I get carsick really, really, really easily. So, I know what being nauseous feels like, and I'd get nauseous when I was carsick and when I was hungry. I'd never been nauseous because I was nervous or humiliated. I don't think I was humiliated. Humiliated is a strong word because all of those skits were terrible. So I doubt anyone thought oh yeah, Meg writes horrible stories. Not that I probably would have cared because I wasn't really known for my storytelling. I still probably am not, even though I consider myself a writer. That's a horrifying thought. Anyways, so we went to lunch, and I tried to eat my food, but I was so hungry, but I was nauseous, and I at some point was just crying trying to eat food. And in front of everyone in the lunchroom, I stood in front of a trash can and barfed. And it was one of those big, bucket trash cans, those ones that when you're a kid, they're, only slightly shorter than you. So I just, threw up in front of everyone, and then sat back down. And then they went to go get, I think the nurse or something to go, walk me into the office. And I was trying to eat food. And I was a very weird kid, and I like to eat weird stuff. So I used to eat bread with mustard sandwich. That is what I called it, bread with mustard sandwich. And it was 7-grain wheat bread with mustard on it. Because if anyone actually knows me, they know that I don't really like sandwiches. I will eat sandwiches now that I'm an adult, because, you know, most people eat sandwiches. It's kind of generally accepted that you should be eating sandwiches. And, yeah, I didn't like sandwiches. I still don't think bread and meat and lettuce should all be together. I want to eat them separately. Like, I'll eat all of those things separately in one sitting, but not together. No. They are separate creatures and should be apart. I believe in segregation of the sandwich. Except for pastrami. Pastrami's good. Anyways, so I ate that every day. I ate pickles. I'd usually have some kind of chips. I don't know what kind of chips I had that day. I think I was out of my phase where I used to bring salad to school. I was such a weird kid. So yeah, that was my lunch. I had something else too, I just don't remember what it was. Probably like a Capri Sun. I really liked Capri Suns. Because everyone did. Because they're freaking Capri Suns. And I think I probably had a Fruit by the Foot or Gushers. Because those were the two 90s-ist kid snacks. But when you feel sick, you don't really want Fruit by the Foot or Gushers, because you're just like, that's a disaster, I don't want that. No, let's not and say we did. Oh, I probably had some kind of fruit slices. I used to eat fruit slices. So yeah, that was my lunch every day. Strangest lunch ever for school. And yeah, I was just sitting there trying to eat lunch. The lunch supervisors who I used to talk to during lunch recess, because I was a weirdo that liked to talk to adults. I don't know what was wrong with me. It's weird. It's very, very weird. And yeah, I was crying because I was hungry, but I threw up. So I was taken to the nurse's office, and one of my parents had to come get me. I don't remember if it was my mom or my dad. And yeah, that's basically all of the story. I think I was out of school for like at least a few days because I threw up. I think I was actually sick in real life. Like, I think that was separate from like my humiliation from the assembly, but like I think if I had eaten my snack earlier, I would have completely pinned it on the assembly, making me barf, but like, yeah, because I didn't eat my snack before, I kind of am like, oh, I think I was probably just sick, but then the assembly happened and just tipped the scale and made me barf, or maybe I just had anxiety. We didn't talk about anxiety in the 90s, and anyone that knows me knows I have very, very bad anxiety. I have anxiety so bad that when something's actually stressful, I am very cavalier about it. Like, super cavalier, like hilariously cavalier. It's like, oh, you took like 3 finals and you think you did bad on one? Why are you so happy? I'm like, I'm this stressed always. Yeah, awesome. Anyway, so yeah, that's basically the entire story. I was inspired to tell this story by my mom, because we were talking about it one time, because if anyone has seen Gentlemen Broncos, which I am basically watching right now, and if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It is a delightfully awesome movie about plagiarism. But there's a part where this kid, he writes like sci-fi stories. Like, okay, stories is the wrong word. They're like novels. He writes novels. He wasn't an amateur like me. He wrote novels. He went for it. He didn't do that thing where he writes a really ambitious beginning and then runs out of time and then just speeds through a bunch of events with zero detail. He wrote novels. And, he sells his novel, like the rights to make his novel into a movie, to one of his friends. Sort of friends. I don't know if they're really friends. It's a weird movie. And they make a horrible, like, trailer movie out of it, and he watches the movie, and it's so terrible that he, like, runs out of the theater and barfs. And it never occurred to me that I probably like this movie a lot, because I had a similar experience in my life as a child, watching my story that I didn't really even care that much about. Didn't really care about it. It was such a throwaway, but I was just so horrified by it. Look at me, I'm sweating and I'm getting red just thinking about how horrible it was. It was so bad. So bad. So bad. It's terrible. I don't recommend it. 0 out of 10. So yeah, my mom told me I should tell this story. Because the original story I was going to tell for my blogs, the anniversary of it passed, so I can't tell it now. I'll have to tell it later. It had to do with the last time I saw Motion City soundtrack. That's kind of a funny story. But my idea to do blogs in general was recommended by my watermelon friend. My delightful watermelon friend. So I decided to do it, even though he recommended I do it earlier this year, and I'm barely doing it now. I blame college, and I want to be alone in my house telling these stories, because it's just weird yelling at a phone, you know? It's weird. You don't want to yell at a phone and have someone walk in on you yelling at your phone. Do you feel me? Anyways, so yeah, that is the story of the time that I barfed after seeing a terrible adaptation of my work. But I am grateful for this, because if I ever finish anything I write, and it is successful enough to be adapted into something terrible, I'm already prepared. I already know what that experience is like. I know how to handle it. So yeah, that is it for my first storytime video. If you'd like to see more of these, please let me know. I don't imagine anyone subscribes to my channel, because it's just me doing weird silent gym lip syncing, and I don't really post concert videos anymore, because my mom mostly filmed them, because she would get bored. Bless her soul. Bless her for taking me to things. I'm not really crying, I'm just a smartass. I'm a ham. It's who I am. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, it just happened. I'm sorry. That was very cheesy. So yeah, if you have any other sorts of stories that you would like for me to tell, please let me know. And I will tell them, and they will be delightful. Probably not. They'll be at least moderately amusing. So yeah, is there anything you want me to talk about? Tell? My thoughts on? Story? Topic? You know, comments? Tell me. I'll tell you the story. I think telling these stories is probably a good idea on YouTube, because, I don't know, I don't have very many stories to tell, so I tell the same ones all the time. So if I do this, then I don't have to tell any of them. I just assume everyone knows the story. Yeah. Anyways, I'm not very good at closing things out, so yeah. Bye! See you later! Silent your lip sync on Monday or Tuesday. Probably Monday. I don't know how to pause this and stop it. Oh no, I have a terrible expression now. I look like a obese person.